Narrative has always been used to explore the great questions of life. Luigi Pirandello concentrates his entire work on one of them. Who are we? Pirandello has been one of the greatest theatre authors of all time, yet he wrote in a world that was changing quickly, with unknown speed, the early 21st century. This context, mixed with personal experience of mental health issues, pushed him to follow this question. This video will look at his red thread. A narrative thread connects all his works and runs through the themes he explores. Although he wrote novels, short stories and plays, we'll consider the entirety of his work. Identity is a crucial part of his narration. In all his stories, characters ask themselves or push the audience to ask who they are. The idea is that we are no one, and our identity is given to us by the people we meet, society or personal relationships. People believe themselves to be something, but discover they are the opposite when push comes to shoves. The concept of rebelling against a determined role and becoming relentless by constantly shifting between who we want to be and who we are. All these internal conflicts make humanity lack any certainty, becoming incapable of building an identity, a life, but simply living day by day, almost watching life come by. The best example is No One and 100,000, where the protagonist Vitangelo Moscarda deals with his identity throughout the novel. It all starts with a banal comment by his wife, who tells him his nose is slightly out of shape. From there, he discovers that every single person he ever met has an entirely different perception of who he is, becoming at the same time one person, the one he believes he is, no one, since there is no single definition of him by anyone, and 100,000, as he is every perception of himself from the point of view of every single person he ever met. Finally, of course, this identity crisis will make him mad and he will be taken to a mental institution. This novel, one of his most known, allows us to introduce his second thread, reality and its perception. In his works, Pirandello shows that every character has a different perception of the world and experiences. Everyone recalls facts and events differently, leaving the reader or viewer perplexed and without a clear idea of what happened or who is who. The point isn't to leave the audience confused, but to make them question their reality and perhaps reflect on their own lives. Every work concludes that reality is unknowable, since everyone has a different perception of it. The best example is the short story Miss Flora and Mr. Ponza, her son-in-law, which also became a play, always by Pirandello. Right you are, if you think so. The fulcrum of the story is the same. Both Mrs. Flora and Mr. Ponza talk about the same person. Miss Flora talks about her daughter Giulia, the supposed wife of Mr. Ponza, saying she is kept like a prisoner by Mr. Ponza and mistreated. Mr. Ponza tells a different tale. His current wife is his second, and the first, Mrs. Flora's daughter, died, making the mother-in-law completely mad. To keep her calm, he lied, telling her that she was still alive. For this to work, he needs to keep his current wife hidden. For the entirety of the short story, we don't know what's true and never see the daughter/wife. The play, however, ends with the character appearance, with the face covered sustaining to be both people and ending the play with the phrase, "I'm the one to be believed." The audience is left without an answer, which is not essential. Only questions matter. What's the truth? What's real? Are you sure you know the difference? Pirandello doesn't care for the classical narrative structure, but only cares about characters. All his stories leave on the side narrative structure, concentrating on the characters. Who are they? What do they perceive? Are we as people the same as them? His tales also drop emotions and are very cerebral, caring about the audience thinking and questioning their certainties about themselves. He cares so little about structures in some stories that they become surreal or experimental for the time he was writing. The best example is Six Characters in Search of an Author, a meta-theater play where characters are fully aware of being characters, and the main six characters don't even have a name, but are referred to as father, mother, stepdaughter, son, boy, and child. They interrupt a theater company about to rehearse a play, demanding to represent on stage their tragedy. The play explores the relation between the characters and the audience, the idea of art and its representation, and the identity and perception that each character has with the other. This was a view of the red threads of Luigi Pirandello. On a personal note, Luigi Pirandello has been a fundamental author for literature and exploring themes that are still considered actual. People still question themselves about these topics frequently. In fact, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1934. His writings are considered an essential part of the 21st century. In the description, I'll put a link to a couple of his works. I hope you check them out. Onward to the next author.